Well, the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting longer. It's the holiday season. And here's an interesting thing that I see a lot is that mortality actually is affected during the holidays. And I see this in practice. My own family, majority of our family members have passed away during the holidays, and I've seen this constant this constant thing that's going on. And I personally was wondering, why is this the case? I also see that most people are getting more body weight or fat during the holidays. And yeah, it can be attributed to the holiday parties and the sweets and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to dive into, well, why did this happen and how do we prevent this from happening. All right. So, this month's webinar is basically how to not get fat and die during the holidays. So, there is a weird fact that we see, and this is well researched, that most of the health issues start occurring during the fall winter times. We see a lot more issues that starts occurring right after September, going into October, November, December, and then also into January. Now, there's a couple factors that we're going to talk about here in this webinar that goes into these reasonings. One of them being light, the other one being temperature, but the biggest one happens to be the mismatch between how we live our lives and what our genes are used to, right? So we got to go back and look at, how did humans live before industrialization, before all of this modern age technology, all of that stuff. We got to look at that, right? How did humans live? Because that's way longer than what we're currently experiencing with modern technology and modern advancements, modern conveniences, right? So our genes are accustomed to that, but our lifestyle is totally opposite to what our genes actually want and how they best actually function. So when we look at the idea behind there's more deaths during the holiday seasons, and also that we see an increase in weight gain during that. You can look at a bunch of these studies. One of them is very interesting. It says Christmas and New Year's as a risk factor for death. One of the findings they said was Christmas, there is an excess of 42,325 deaths from natural causes above and beyond the normal winter increase. So it says that Christmas and New Year's appear to be risk factors for deaths from many diseases, right? It's like, well, okay, if you don't want to die during that time, don't celebrate Christmas or New Year's, right? No, there's something else going on. And a lot of these studies, they point out the fact that illnesses happens during these times, but they don't necessarily pinpoint the reasons why. Here's another study that was done. It says cardiac mortality is higher around Christmas and New Year's than any other time. Holidays as a risk factor for death. So this is another one that was published, the American Heart Association journals and the Journal of Circulation. So they're pointing this out. I see it clinically. I've seen it personally. But why? Why is that the case? It doesn't seem like that just because these things, like Christmas occurs or New Year's occurs, that's the reason. What's what's going on behind it? Well, let's look at how our physiology changes with the seasons. During the spring and summertime, there is a higher carbohydrate abundance, right? Sun is shining more. Things bloom. We get more vegetation, flowering. We see all of this stuff. That's a higher carbohydrate. That's what plants are. That's what fruits are. Carbohydrates. We become more insulin sensitive during spring and summer months. We also experience shorter sleep because there's longer days, shorter nights. This is the time where we should actually see an increase in weight. Now, let's take a little pause and let's just do a thought thinking process here. When we see animals in nature, what do we see them do during the spring and summer months? They're foraging. They're packing things into their body for when winter hits. And what do we see animals do during the winter? They utilize all the things that they've stored in their body from spring and summer, and they go into a hibernation state. And they utilize their body fat during that hibernation state to survive. Right? They go into this unanimated state during the fall and winter when there's colder temperatures and less light. Now, in fall and winter, we have a lower abundance of food. That's one of the main reasons why animals go into hibernation. There's lower abundance of food. We become more insulin resistant, right? And we have longer sleep because of longer night cycles, shorter days. We should also see a decrease in weight. But now let's look at what do we do in modern day society? We have the exact opposite. Right? During the spring and summer months, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get that beach body. So we cut carbohydrate intake. And if you look at it, the summertime is when spring and summer is when we are most insulin sensitive from a seasonal perspective. But yet we're cutting carbohydrates because everybody's trying to get that beach body. A lot of people tend to actually sleep longer during the summer months. And we're trying to decrease weight. We're trying to cut out that fat. And then during the fall and winter, when we should have a lower abundance of foods, we're having more foods and we're having higher carbohydrates. But at the same time, we're more insulin resistant during the fall and winter months, yet we're eating more carbohydrates. And we're sleeping shorter because now when the days become shorter and the nights become longer, what do? We turn on all the lights. So now if the sun is going down at about 5, 6 o'clock, we turn on those lights. And the temperature of lights, if you guys have been following me for a while, I talk about the temperature of lights. The temperature of lights will dictate or tell your body what time of the day it is. So a specific temperature of light during the morning is different than the temperature of light during the midday. Now, all of the lights that we currently have in our homes, for most of us, I should say, have the same temperature as noon light, midday light. So when we turn those on, and it's supposed to be for 5, 6 o'clock, our bodies are automatically triggered to sense that it is noon during that time. And then we eat higher carbohydrate meals. We become, we push that insulin resistance even further. And with this, creates a stress. When you create that stress, the body goes into an inflammatory response. Higher abundance of carbohydrate-rich foods and insulin resistance also creates vasospasms within your arteries. Inflammation within the arteries increases the deposition of cholesterol. Chronic stress, which is what inflammation is, increases inflammation. And also cholesterol, because cholesterol is a reaction to chronic stress. So cholesterol in and of itself is a side note. Cholesterol in and of itself isn't a bad thing, but the oxidation of cholesterol is. And the liver makes more cholesterol in response to a stressful situation, because that's the way that the body repairs itself. The cells, they require more cholesterol. So here comes cholesterol coming down the tunnel, and it's oxidized because it's inflammatory. The arteries are in spasm, and you get a higher deposition of cholesterol. So we start the process of atherosclerosis. So we do this year upon year upon year. And is there any wonder why we see a lot of cardiovascular incidents during these months? Okay. So, like I said, our physiology has to change with the seasons. It does. Now, the other thing that has to change is our lifestyle. Our lifestyle has to match our physiological changes. So, the physiology in the summer is different from the physiology in the winter, and our lifestyle should match that. What do we do? All right. Well, sleep should be longer during the winter months and shorter during the summer months. We wake up with the sun, we go down with the sun. Simple as that. Now, some of you may be asking, well, what if I live in a more northern or southern climate where the sun is going down earlier, or maybe it's up for a long time? You want to maintain some type of circadian rhythm of about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Okay. And you want to entrain your body. So if you have long nights of darkness, or maybe the sun goes down at 3 or 4 o'clock for some of you, and it doesn't get up till 7 the next day, you want to utilize different types of lights. So there's different types of lights that are out there. One of them you can use is like a sun lamp. A sun lamp can mimic the sun. Now, it doesn't replace the sun, but it can mimic, because what else are we going to do if we live in those climates? So I'm trying to help you guys out, just some things that you guys can be doing. And at nighttime, utilize stuff like salt lamps is actually a good one. Red bulbs, you want to replace all the bulbs in your house that are very bright blue lights. You want to replace those with red bulbs. There's incandescent bulbs, you can still find them. I want to say 1000bulbs.com. If you go to 1000bulbs.com, they still have some. Or Ruby Lux has red LEDs. That's another great thing to switch out to utilizing. Okay, so if the sun is going down earlier, you're gonna flip on lights, but the lights should be more in the red spectrum. Or you can use candles. If you guys really want to get deeper into this, candles. So candles will not stimulate that blue light response in your body. Okay, which will also, by the way, help you to get sleep better, because if you're stimulating your body with blue light at night, you're not going to be secreting enough melatonin. Okay, so getting enough melatonin in is dependent upon the type of light that you're getting throughout the day and shutting off that blue light at night. So we're following that light dark cycles. Diet, basic rule of thumb during the summer months are going to be, you can have more carbohydrates. And in the winter months, we're going to pretty much decrease that. Now, you guys can get an app called Seasonal Food Guide, and that'll tell you what's in season. Right? So get that according to where you're at. It'll show you what fruits, what vegetables are in season. You guys live in more of a northern latitude. You guys are going to find that there's not many things that's listed on the app that are in season, because most vegetation doesn't grow in northern latitudes during that time. So if you lived 500 years ago in that area, you wouldn't be able to eat an avocado because it doesn't grow there. You always want to stick to what's growing in season, and if it's grown locally, especially for plants. Your diet in the winter months is going to be more ketotic. Okay. I recommend going through a cyclical ketosis, meaning that you're ketotic for 3-4 days, and then you have a refeeding days, and then you fast. So you're doing something like a ketotic fasting diet, where you decrease the amount of energy that you're intaking, and you're staying in a ketotic state. And then also you're cycling to where you what we call refeeding days. So now say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're in, ketotic state. You're having one, maybe two meals a day in an eating window of about 6 to 8 hours. So say you have your first meal at 6 a.m., your last meal would be, maybe at 2 p.m. That's your eating window. And the rest of the time you're fasting. Now that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then maybe Thursday or Friday, you would have a um, higher caloric meal. I don't want to get caught on calories, but most people understand what that means. So you're eating more energy dense foods, getting in more energy during that time. Okay, you want to during the winter months is when you want to practice more of caloric restriction. Okay, summer times, this is when you become more insulin sensitive. This is when you can actually kick up your have more fruits and vegetables. You can have with fruits, by the way, you still want to limit that because fructose in and of itself will hinder your liver's function. So limit that to like 1 to 2 a day. Fruits are also high in a thing called deuterium, and we'll talk more later on down the line about deuterium. Okay, so summers, you're more insulin sensitive. You can have way more carbohydrates during that time. Now, during these holiday seasons, people always ask, well, how do I get through it with all the parties and all the stuff? You know what? There's a social aspect as well. So enjoy yourself, spend time with your friends and family, enjoy their company, and practice the 80-20 rule. Just don't overdo it, right? Moderation in all things. Don't just gorge on things just because it's the holidays and things are available. Enjoy the foods and enjoy the pastries and cakes and whatever you and your family and your friends, however you celebrate, enjoy it. But don't overdo it, right? That's the biggest thing. So the last thing I want to say, right, I got to drive this home is that your physiology changes throughout the seasons. You got to be able to match your lifestyle to match the physiology. Lifestyle meaning your light, lifestyle meaning your diet. We didn't talk about exercise that much because during the winter months as well, your body starts slowing down, right? It's preparing for a state of hibernation. So using lighter activities, as you're still gonna get movement in. You can do walking and all that kind of stuff. But as far as training really hard, you may want to decrease that. Okay. So your lifestyle needs to match those changes. Okay. You guys got any questions with this? Just leave it in the comment section below. And we're gonna be talking way more about this kind of stuff. We're gonna talk, dive deeper into physiology, surrounding circadian biology. We're gonna look at the different aspects of cardiovascular health. That's gonna be coming up. There's a whole bunch of things that we're gonna be going through. So stick around. Got more for you. All right, this is Dr. Mike signing off, saying be well and aloha.